The city had a rhythm. Horns stitched through traffic, neon lights bled into wet pavement, and somewhere inside that chaos, Armin played. A street violinist with worn fingertips and a violin that sounded like it had survived more heartbreak than wood should carry. Every evening, he set himself under the same flickering lamp beside an old florist stall. People came and went. Coins clinked. Time dissolved, but every Friday, the world behaved differently. Because she arrived. A woman in a muted coat, moving like she didn't want to disturb reality more than necessary. She never spoke to the florist more than required, never glanced at Armand for longer than a passing second. She only ever bought one white rose, and left. That was it. No variation, no hesitation. Like she was following a rule written in a language no one else could read. Armand didn't know why he started waiting for her. At first it was curiosity, then habit, then something worse than both, anticipation, like the absence of her would feel louder than the city itself. One Friday, she stopped near him instead of passing by. "You play like you're chasing something you lost," she said. Armand missed a note. "And you buy flowers like you're paying a debt." She didn't deny it. That was the first crack in the silence between them. After that, Fridays stopped belonging to just music. They became conversations folded into walks that never quite ended properly. Coffee that went cold before either of them noticed. Shared silence that didn't feel empty anymore. And yet, every Friday, she still bought exactly one white rose. Armand finally asked her one evening, half joking, half not, "Is it for someone you lost?" She paused longer than expected. "Yes," she said. Then, after a beat, added quietly, "But I don't. Think you would believe me if I told you who." So, he never asked again. Some answers feel like doors you shouldn't open unless you're ready to disappear into what's behind them. But sometimes, curiosity doesn't knock. It breaks in slowly. 3 years passed like a quiet spell. The city changed seasons without them noticing. Armand's music changed too. Softer, fuller, like something inside him had learned how to stay. And she remained a constant interruption to loneliness. But there were moments Armand couldn't explain. Times when he would stop playing and realize coins had appeared in his case without seeing anyone place them. Moments where he swore he heard applause just after the last person walked away. Nights where the lamp above him flickered in rhythm with his music. As if responding, he told himself it was imagination, until it stopped feeling like imagination and started feeling like consistency. Then, one Friday, she didn't arrive. No footsteps, no white rose, no pause in the world where she used to be. Armand told himself it was nothing. People miss days. Routines break. But when she didn't come the next Friday, something inside him started misplacing itself. By the 3rd week, he asked the florist. The old man frowned. "That girl? Haven't seen her since the accident." Armand frowned. "What accident?" The florist hesitated, then lowered his voice like the air itself might overhear. 3 years ago. Car crash. Near the hill road." Something in Armin's chest tightened, but not in grief yet. More like confusion trying to defend itself. "That's impossible," he said. The florist just shrugged. "That's what the records say, Kurtz. Paper truths, but Armand had memories. Coffee cups warmed by her hands. Her voice correcting his music like she could hear emotions inside it. Her laugh, soft and unexpected, like it surprised even her, and now, something worse. The realization that memory can be too detailed to trust. So he followed the only place left. The Hill Cemetery. It felt wrong, immediately. Not eerie, incomplete, like a sentence missing its subject. Rows of stone names stretched across damp earth. Wind moved through them like breath through teeth, and then he saw it. Her name, carved into stone with quiet finality. Same full name he thought he knew. Same absence. Same impossible date. 3 years ago. The violin slipped slightly in his grip. He stepped closer, reading it again as if repetition could undo meaning. It didn't. Then he noticed something else. A white rose, fresh, placed neatly at the base of the grave. Not dried, not old. New. Someone had been here recently. His breath slowed, and then a sound behind him. Not footsteps. Music. A violin. Playing softly. Like it had been continuing long before he noticed, Armand turned, and she was there, standing just beyond the trees. Same coat. Same eyes, same quiet gravity that made the world feel slightly misaligned. Except now, she looked like someone remembering him from a distance that wasn't physical. And something else. She looked sadder than memory allowed. "You followed it," she said softly. Armand shook his head once. "I followed you." A faint, almost sad smile. "No," she corrected. "You followed the version of me that still exists where you are." The wind shifted. The cemetery felt suddenly less like a place and more like a threshold. Armand stepped back. "I saw your grave." "Yes," she said. "That one is real." A pause, then softer. "And so are you." That didn't clarify anything. It only deepened the fracture. Armand looked at his hands. They felt unfamiliar for a moment, like they belonged to someone who had forgotten how to hold time correctly. "You're saying I'm, what, dreaming this?" She shook her head gently. "Not dreaming, remembering." The word landed differently, like it had weight. Like it had been waiting. She walked closer to the grave and placed another white rose beside the first. "I kept coming every Friday," she said, "because your music never stopped here." Armand's voice lowered. "I stopped coming weeks ago." She looked at him for a long time, then said quietly, "No, you stopped noticing that you never left." The world tilted, but didn't break. Instead, it rearranged. Suddenly, he remembered things he hadn't known were missing. Playing alone at night when the city was asleep. A crowd he couldn't quite see clearly. Applause that felt like it came from somewhere behind existence itself. And always. Her presence at the edge of it. Not fully seen, but always felt. She turned slightly, facing him again. "I was the florist. Girl," she said, "and you were the violin that refused to stop playing even after the audience left." Silence stretched. Not empty. Full. Heavy with everything. They hadn't understood before. Then, deeper than before, something shifted again. Armand lifted his violin slowly. "I don't understand what this is." She hesitated this time, longer than before, then answered. "Then listen until you do." He hesitated, then drew the bow. The sound that came out was not new. It was remembered. And this time, something answered it. Not the city. Not the wind, but the space between them. The lamp from the street flickered in his mind. The Fridays aligned like stepping stones. The white rose unfolded in meaning like it had been waiting for sound to complete it. And suddenly, Armand wasn't standing in a cemetery anymore. He was standing in a performance that had never ended. One he had been playing his whole life without realizing. The audience was not in front of him, but between moments. She stepped closer, her voice barely above the bow's vibration. "When you stop resisting it," she said, "you'll hear the rest of the world too." Armand's fingers tightened. The rest of the world? A pause. Then, the parts that only exist when you play. The final note stretched longer than physics should allow, and in that, impossible sustain. Armand finally understood the shape of the truth. Not that she was gone. Not that he was gone. But that both of them were only ever complete when the music existed between them. And as the sound finally dissolved into silence, it didn't end. It relocated.